What's up guys, it's Yuki Bros, and today we have another duel video for you all. Where is my sound? There's my sound. Alright. Today we're going to be exploring one of the best skills in my opinion from the Duelist of Shadows box, Dark Unity. Skill says you can use super polymerization to fusion summon monsters that can normally only be fusion summoned with Dark Fusion, and each of the following skills can be used once per duel. The first is you can lose 2,000 life, then change the type of one special summon monster your opponent controls to rock. I'll be honest, you don't use that effect all that often. The best effect of this card is discard a card, add Dark Fusion from your deck to your hand. The opponent is on Volcanics, or I should say neutered Volcanics after that ban list put both Shell and Golden Ladybug to 2. We're going to draw into Cosmic Cyclone. We're going to pay a K to get rid of their card after a little delaying. There was a bit of lag on Duelingbook when we did this duel, so bear with me as things go. We're going to normal summon a copy of Delta the Magnet Warrior. Today we're playing Evil Magnets, if I didn't say it already. We're going to activate Magnetic Field. If everyone remembers correctly, the magnets of old in this game have Delta the Magnet Warrior, which lets you foolish a magnet level 4 or lower on normal or special summon. We're going to do that by sending Beta to the grave, then we're going to activate our Magnetic Field. Our Magnetic Field says if we control a level 4 or lower Earth Rock, we can target a level 4 or lower magnet in our grave once per turn to special summon it. We're going to then use our Dark Unity, discarding a copy of Beta to add Dark Fusion, before we then activate the Dark Fusion, fusing both the Delta and the Malicious Edge Evil Hero in our hand to drop Dark Gaia at 4,200. Yes, it's a Dark Gaia turbo deck, who would have thought? You guys are going to be seeing a lot of Dark Gaia FTKs or OTKs that can be enabled in Speed Duels. I'm shocked we honestly got Dark Gaia, but because we did, and we got this beautiful card here in Super Polymerization, we're going to try every possible combination of ways to drop that thing turn 1. We're going to start out with 2 Santa Claus, Super Poly, and Beta. We could normal a Beta, setting a Super Poly to make a Dark Gaia here, but it would only go to 2,900. We know they're on Volcanics. We don't know the extent to what they can do. We just know they can Accelerator and pop our cards, so we elect to pass. Unfortunately, that was the wrong choice because they flip Blaze Accelerator Deployment. This is an interesting skill that says twice per duel. You change the name of a Blaze Accelerator you control to Tri-Blaze. They're going to do that, in which case they send their Blaze Accelerator named Tri-Blaze to the grave for Doomfire, in addition to normaling a Volcanic Rocket, and just as fast as we OTK, they OTK us for this lovely game too. I bet you didn't expect that. 2 games to be over in less than a minute. Well, I don't know how much it is in this recording, but oh my goodness. Speed Duels, finally living up to its name. We're going to elect to go second, so they're going to start with a Shell and an Offerings to the Doom before they swiftly pass their turn. We're going to draw into a copy of Delta the Magnet Warrior. As we've seen before, we're going to use its effect to dump our Beta the Magnet. We're going to then activate Magnetic Field, and oh, they have the Offerings to the Doomed to immediately wipe our Delta off the board, so unfortunately we are not going to be able to do anything because we don't have an Earth. However, they can't draw, so they have to pass, which gives us 1 extra turn here to then activate our Dark Unity. Discarding our Super Poly to add Dark Fusion to hand, we drew Malicious Edge, and I don't know if you guys have seen this once or seen it before, but we're going to pitch both Malicious Edge and Valkyrion, the brick, to drop Dark Gaia at 6,100 points of attack. We're going to go into the battle phase swing, activating Dark Gaia's effect, which switches all defense position monsters from our own controls to face up attack position. However, they have the Sphere Karibo, so their monster will flip face up, but our monster will go to defense due to the sphere, so we can't just punch them for game off of this. And then go figure, they draw into Creature Swap. This is wild because while they do get our crazy huge monster, they can't change the battle position due to Creature Swap's effect. So they are forced to pass and basically gave us the out in Volcanic Shell with a whole 100 attack points to kill the Dark Gaia. However, we draw into Malicious Edge, which is just so much better. Malicious Edge says if an opponent has a monster, you contribute summon this card with 1 tribute. So we're going to tribute the Volcanic Shell for the Malicious Edge. And it does piercing, by the way. So we're going to swing over the Dark Gaia for 26. and we're gonna pass our turn. They of course draw into Volcanic Rocket. This game is wild after those two first games. Rocket's effect will get the Blaze Accelerator, then then they'll activate their skill, turning it into Tri-Blaze before they drop Volcanic Doomfire on us, swinging into our Malicious Edge. We do have the Wabaku, so we will survive to see another day. We draw into a copy of Beta the Magnet Warrior. That's going to activate our field spell. Well, not activate, but we will activate our field spell, bringing back Delta. We like to use Delta's effect. I think we forgot Valkyrion was already in the grave, so we didn't actually need to dump Beta there, but I guess it does thin the deck a little bit. And then we think we have game by having Edge swing over the Volcanic Rocket, and then having Beta swing into Doomfire. The reason we do this is because of Magnetic Field's effect, which says once per turn at the end of the damage step, if an Earth Rock monster you control battled an opponent's monster, and the opponent's monster was not destroyed by battle, you can return it to the hand. So the logic is Beta hits this doesn't die, this bounces this, Delta swings for game. However, I think we did forget about Volcanic Doomfire's effect, which says if it kills a monster by battle, it destroys all monsters we control, and we take 500 for each monster destroyed. So unfortunately, we're going to lose our entire board and 1,000 life points. They do, however, lose the Doomfire, and we're both left on top deck mode. They're going to draw into Galaxy Cyclone, which won't do anything for them here because they first have to pop a set to then use the other effect a separate turn in the grave to pop our face up card. And the difference is we draw into another magnet, so then we can activate our field spell, bringing back Beta, to then swiftly swing for game. A shout out to Anthony Takela on TCG Infinite for the idea behind this crazy deck list. Definitely props goes to him. There's a few things differently that I play than he plays, but nonetheless, the list for this deck 100% was inspired by him. Sorry if I butchered your name. I'll leave a link in the description down below to this article for you guys to see. But basically, now I know the replay was quick, but I wanted to actually use a bit more time to explain this deck in full because there's a lot of synergy this deck does and has that I wasn't able to explore in the duel videos. The list first off is 3 copies of Beta the Magnet Warrior, 3 copies of Delta the Magnet Warrior. Beta is the strongest magnet of the 3. Alpha and Gamma both don't hold a candle to this card. And also Delta's second effect that says if it's sent to the grave, you can banish 3 level 4 lower Magnet Warriors from your grave except Delta. They don't have to be different names, so you can proc its effect off 3 Betas, which you can hit pretty fast, as you guys have seen from the video. So we do play the 1 Valkyrion to proc this thing's effect to summon it from hand or deck by banishing the 3 Betas from the graveyard. Now on that note, Valkyrion is a huge brick, however because we play Dark Fusion and Super Polymerization and our Dark Gaia requires 1 Rock and 1 Fiend, if you have Valk plus any Fiend monster in the deck, then you have Dark Gaia at a huge amount of attack points, but this is an easy side out as well, so you don't have to play it, which is nice. 3 copies of Evil Hero Malicious Edge. This is just a really strong card. 1 tribute if your opponent controls a monster that does piercing. Also 26 for our Dark Gaia. It's also the main requirement for Malicious Fiend, which requires a Evil Hero Malicious Edge and a level 6 or higher Fiend monster. Speaking of level 6 or higher Fiend monsters, we have 2 copies of Santa Claus. Now, this card was left out of Anthony's list for reasons I can't explain. To me, this is what brings the entire deck together. You have so many different things you can do with Santa Claus. First off, it's just a Fiend, so you can use it with your Dark Fusion and any of your magnets to make the Dark Gaia. Second off, Super Poly is in this deck, so you can put it on your opponent's field by tributing off one of their cards, and then Super Poly their Santa Claus and your magnet to make Dark Gaia. Third off, if you put it on their field in defense mode, which it requires you to do, and then attack into it with a Magnet Warrior, the Magnet Warrior obviously will bounce off of it, you'll take a little bit of damage, and then Magnetic Field's effect will allow you to bounce the Santa Claus back to the owner's hand, aka you, which means you get your Santa Claus back. You get another Kaiju. It's the whole Fairy Tail Luna Kaiju deck all over again. Fourth, this card in defense mode is wild for your Dark Gaia, because if Dark Gaia attacks, its effect activates putting all your opponent's monsters in face of attack position. So then Dark Gaia goes to attack mode with its 1200 attack, and you punch for a crap ton of damage. So yeah, the card is absolutely crazy. I'm not sure why Anthony wasn't playing it, but definitely think you need to play this card in this deck for sure. It just checks all the boxes and then some for your combos. 3 copies of Magnetic Field. The deck kind of just circles around this card. As I said, if you control level 4 or lower Earth Rock, you can target a level 4 or lower Magnet Warrior in your grave once per turn to special summon it, and then if one of your Earth Rocks battles an opponent's monster and the opponent's monster doesn't die by battle, you can return that card to the opponent's hand. Previously in Speed Duels, the Magnet's only win con was really this card. There were some crazy lists that dropped Obelisk the Tormentor, but I wouldn't consider those the good lists. The best lists of this was just by far controlling your opponent's board by bouncing their monsters with Magnetic Field and keeping board presence through your magnets. But this is kind of just the centerpiece of the magnet strategy, not so much the evil hero strategy, but I really do like how Dark Fusion definitely gives this deck another win con beyond what it could already previously do. 2 copies of Dark Fusion. You play it simply because you can search it once per duel, but sometimes you need the discard effect to search the Dark Fusion to proc something like Delta's effect to summon Valk by pitching a beta, but also just you summon more than once. Most of the time. We were playing 1 Dark Fusion for a bit, but we bumped it to 2 because it just seems more consistent. And Anthony's list was playing 2 as well. 1 Cosmic Cyclone in the main. The deck's big Achilles heel is that it struggles with back row, which is why we side more back row hate. But a lot of the time you let your magnets deal with the back row by the looping with this, and then you just go off with the Dark Gaia. So we do main the 1 Cosmic just in case, but we definitely bring in more. 1 Super Polymerization. This card is like your late game win con. It's never usually going to go off early game. You kind of have to dedicate a lot of resources to it, considering if you give them the Santa Claus, that's 1 card out of your hand. If you activate Super Poly, it's 2 cards. The discard is 3 cards. And the Rock, depending on where it is, might be the 4th card. In Speed Duels, that's a lot of card economy to dedicate to 1 card. That 1 card better win you the game. And even though it is Dark Gaia, which, you know, that is the intent, sometimes it's not enough. So yeah, you just need 1. But the card is really strong, obviously, and allows for faster OTKs with the fact that you could like swing with something and then fuse it with Super Poly to make Dark Gaia or Malicious Fiend, depending on where you're at. 1 Wabaku in the main deck. This deck has no defense. Wabaku is its only defense. What's nice with Wabaku pairing with this, though, is that your magnet won't die thanks to Wabaku, and if their monster doesn't die, which it probably won't, at least field can still bounce back to the hand, so you then have a magnet on the field to then use for this the following turn to bring back something else. And 2 copies of Metaverse because you want to see Magnetic Field as fast as possible. We were playing 3, but it kind of clogs. Once you have it, you have it. And now because the deck has an alternative win con, you don't need to see this right away. Granted, it is very consistent. Inside deck, we play 1 Lava Golem for time, but also it's just good to tribute off multiple monsters instead of just 1 on the opponent's field. Also 3000 if you draw this with something like Valk, you can get your Dark Eye up to 65. You could also just use this as a free Fiend piece. You don't need to drop it to their field, which is fine, but if you do, you still have the Super Poly that you can fuse on their field with. The 3rd Santa Claus, I know this might seem like a lot because you're like, well, once you have it, you technically have it with this. But, you know, it's also a fusion material card, so it depends what you're playing against. This is mostly just for, like, Cyber Angels. 1 Galaxy Cyclone. Card's just kind of like a really good Jack of all trades side deck card right now, if not main deck. It's a really good Spill and Trap hate card that gives you an extra bonus effect in the grave on a different turn to banish it to pop a face-up Spill or Trap. That's just really good. The 2nd Cosmic Cyclone, you could play 3 instead of the Galaxy Cyclone. It doesn't really matter what you do. It just paying 1,000 life points sometimes is a lot. Like I said, this deck has no defense, so a lot of the time you're taking a couple chump hits just to survive, and then the 1,000 life points sometimes becomes a problem with that. And then 2 more Wabaku, depending on what you're playing against, or if it's a mirror match or some type of Dark Gaia OTK, you want to survive, and Wabaku is the best card to do that. We elected this over Sphere Kribo just simply because walling 1 attack from the hand isn't nearly as good as stalling from all damage and keeping your monsters alive. So it's Wabaku. And then, of course, 3 copies of Dark Gaia is the best card in the deck. This is your ultimate win con. And then 3 Malicious Fiend. This can get summoned because it does require a level 6 or higher Fiend, which you use with another copy of itself, or Santa Claus, which is a level 6 or higher Fiend, or Lava Golem if you side that in. But this is why I say Santa Claus was just made for this deck. It just perfectly fits inside this deck. Without this card, the deck wouldn't be the same. It would be Anthony's list, and no offense to Anthony's list, but I think Santa Claus is literally the missing piece to his list. But shoutouts nonetheless to him. Guys, these are just my thoughts, and of course Anthony's. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
For more amazing Speed Duel content, subscribe to Yugi Bros. It's time to duel!